As for Belal, he adopted an attitude that would honor not only Islam, even though Islam was more worthy of it, but also all humanity. He resisted the harshest kind of torture like all pious great men. Allah made him an example of the fact that blackness of skin and bondage would not decry the greatness of the soul if it found its faith, adhered to its Creator, and clung to its right. Belal gave a profound lesson to those of his age and every age, for those of his religion and every religion, a lesson which embraced the idea that freedom and supremacy of conscience could not be bartered either for gold or punishment, even if it filled the earth. He was stripped naked and laid on hot coals to make him renounce his religion, but he refused. The Messenger and Islam made this weak Abyssinian slave a teacher to all humanity in the art of respecting conscience and defending its freedom and supremacy. They used to take him out in the midday heat when the desert turned to a fatal hell. Then they would throw him naked on its scorching rocks and bring a burning hot rock, which took several men to lift from its place, and throw it onto his body and chest. This savage torture was repeated every day until the hearts of some of his executioners took pity on him. Finally, they agreed to set him free on condition that he would speak well of their gods, even with only one word that would allow them to keep their pride, so that the Quraysh would not say they had been defeated and humiliated by the resistance of their persevering slave. But even this one word, which he could eject from outside his heart, and with it by his life and soul without losing his faith or abandoning his conviction, Belal refused to say. Yes, he refused to say it and began to repeat his lasting chant instead, one. His torturers shouted at him, imploring him, mention the name of Allah and Allah. But he answered, one. They said to him, say as we say. But he answered them with remarkable mockery and caustic irony, indeed my tongue is not good at that. So Belal remained in the melting heat and under the weight of the heavy rock, and by sunset they raised him up and put a rope around his neck. Then they ordered their boys to take him around the mountains and streets of Mecca. And Belal's tongue did not mention anything other than his holy chant, one. When the night overtook them, they began bargaining with him. Tomorrow, speak well of our gods, say, my Lord is Allah and Al-Uzza, and we'll leave you alone. We are tired of torturing you as if we are the tortured ones. But he shook his head and said, one. So, Umayyah ibn Khalaf kicked him and exploded with exasperating fury, and shouted, what bad luck has thrown you upon us, O slave of evil? By Allah and Allah, I'll make you an example for slaves and masters. But Belal answered with the holy greatness and certainty of a believer, one. And he who was assigned to play the role of a sympathizer returned to talking and bargaining. He said, take it easy, Umayyah. By Allah, he will not be tortured again. Indeed, Belal is one of us. His mother is our slave girl. He will not be pleased to talk about and ridicule us because of his Islam. But Belal gazed at their lying, cunning faces, and his mouth slackened like the light of dawn. He said with calmness that shook them violently, one. It was the next day and midday approached. Belal was taken to the sun-baked ground. He was patient, brave, firm, and expecting the reward in the hereafter. Abu Bakr as Siddiq went to them while they were torturing him and shouted at them, are you killing a man because he says, Allah is my Lord? Then he shouted at Umayyah ibn Khalaf, take more than his price and set him free. It was as if Umayyah were drowning and had caught a lifeboat. It was to his liking, and he was very much pleased when he heard Abu Bakr offering the price of his freedom, since they had despaired of subjugating Belal. And as they were merchants, they realized that selling him was more profitable to them than his death. They sold him to Abu Bakr, and then he emancipated him immediately, and Belal took his place among free men. When as Siddiq put his arm round Belal, rushing with him to freedom, Umayyah said to him, take him, for by Allah and Al-Uzza, if you had refused to buy him except for 1 ounce of gold, I would have sold him to you. Abu Bakr realized the bitterness of despair and disappointment hidden in these words. It was appropriate not to answer, but because they violated the dignity of this man who had become his brother and his equal, he answered Umayyah saying, by Allah, If you had refused to sell him except for 100 ounces, I would have paid it." He departed with his companion to the messenger of Allah, giving him news of his liberation, and there was a great celebration. After the hijrah of the messenger and the Muslims to Al-Madinah and their settling there, the messenger instituted the azan. So who would become the muezzin 5 times a day? Who would call across distant lands, "Allah is the greatest, and there is no God but Allah"? It was Bilal, who had shouted 13 years before while the torture was destroying him, "Allah is one, one." He was chosen by the messenger that day to be the first muezzin in Islam. With his melodious, soul-stirring voice, he filled the hearts with faith and the ears with awe when he called, "Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah." Come to prayer. Come to prayer. Come to success. Come to success. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. There is no God but Allah. Fighting broke out between the Muslims and the army of the Quraysh who came to invade Al-Madinah. The war raged fiercely and terribly while Bilal was there attacking and moving about in the first battle Islam was plunged into, the Battle of Badr, whose motto the messenger ordered to be, "One, one."